What event, sporting or otherwise, definitely otherwise, would you be willing to do a Charlie 1-2 to get into?
None.
Okay, that's what I thought. Cue the music.
Come on, do a beautiful show. It's gonna be awesome. Some other musical stuff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles. My name is Nate Harold.
And I am Will Noon.
Today, we are discussing Season 5, Episode 6, The World Series Defense, written by David Hornsby, directed by Randall Einhorn.
And I am Will Noon.
I looked up, because I feel like we talk about the directors kind of often.
Yeah.
Randall Einhorn has directed 14 episodes of Always Sunny.
And just for the record, this is not the guy from Ace Ventura.
And this is not Finkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is Finkel.
Exactly.
Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn.
Right. No, he's just a television director. So he's directed 14 episodes plus one that's unreleased called The Gang Gets Successful.
What?
I'm wondering if that wasn't there was that like tipping point, the psychiatrist episode. I wonder if it was like a rewritten version of that, or like that was a rewritten version of The Gang Gets Successful.
Interesting.
Because that's the point of that episode, right? They're like they hit the tipping point. Patty's is successful, and then they all fuck it up. Could you, off the top of your dome, guess who directed the most episodes? It's someone we've talked about.
I mean,
several times.
Yeah, it would have to be Fred Savage, but that's the only one.
Close. It's a director that we came up with a catchphrase for.
Oh, then it would be Matt Shackman.
The Shack is back, baby.
This is my unofficial count because there's no website you can go to that says exactly how many episodes that they've directed. So I went to IMDb and counted them by eyeball.
Okay.
Matt Shackman has directed 43 episodes of this show. That is insane.
I don't know how that
Matt
works.
Shackman, we salute you.
But it seems like he was like very heavy in the beginning. Does he come back at all?
Yeah, it is early. It is early in like the first, 5 or 6 seasons, I think.
Right. I feel like even in the past 2 seasons, we haven't really heard from him much.
Yeah, because there's directors that come in later, like Heath Collins and Todd Bierman, who have like pretty big numbers too, but they don't start until like season 7.
Right.
Like it's like fully cycled itself out by that point.
Yeah, it would be cool to see like Matt Shackman do one in like, one episode in season 13 and like one episode in season 15 and like just like
to see if it like
a cameo guest star appearance kind of.
Yeah, to see if it feels like maybe the vintage stuff.
Yeah, or I don't know. Sometimes I think it's like, well, who's really contributing what? Like,
oh yeah, you and I have no idea.
Right. Even like,
and I wonder that all the time.
Like, with music, it's like the producer. It's like, yeah, but the producer, but then was it the engineer? And then you're like, oh, right. But like whoever mixed it is actually sometimes like putting a heavy like sort of fingerprint on it.
Right.
And obviously the band, it's like, well, it's the band, so they're going to sound like who they are no matter what. But you're like, yeah, right. But are they? A lot of factors.
It's like the Steve Albini approach, where he says that like producing and engineering records is like a trade, so you should just be paid for the work that you do. You shouldn't get like points or songwriting credit.
Right.
Even though if you listen to the Nirvana record that he produced, it's like I feel like his footprint is all over that record.
Yeah, I guess I know of him as like a sound producer, like
yeah.
Like I could sort of I don't know if I could pick it out if I heard it and didn't know he did it, but if you say he did something, I'm like, that makes sense because of these impressive sounds. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I could say that there's like a style or like a,
He's also like a pretty serious poker player.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, if you follow him on Twitter, it's a lot of poker stuff.
I like it when people have weird things. Do you want to discuss the general gist of this episode?
Sure. Tell me about it.
Okay, so just in case you don't remember, this episode is a strange one. It's all sort of recap.
It's a recap podcast version of it. episode of Always Sunny.
It's very meta. It seems like they've somehow predicted our podcast.
Right.
So the gang rolls into a courtroom and explains why they shouldn't have to pay for Dennis's parking tickets. And they are citing the World Series defense. Because while attempting to go see the Phillies win the World Series or play the World Series, they lost the tickets, split up, had to go find them, started tailgating, then tried to scam their way into some tickets by doing the old Charlie 1-2. Eventually, they realized that their best bet was the tunnel from the Holiday Inn into the stadium, which they did not find because it most likely does not exist. But they got stuck in a linen closet in the basement of the Holiday Inn for 6 days, during which time Dennis got the parking tickets. And they unsuccessfully plead their case in court while, flashing back to all these scenes.
Beautiful.
And that's the episode.
Let's discuss the alliances in this episode, Will.
So, in real life, there's no alliance because they're all in the courtroom. But
Exactly. So they're unified in front of the judge, but in the flashback, we see that it's more or less Charlie Dennis and then Frank, D, and Mac.
Yeah, which is a pretty weird setup.
It is pretty weird, yeah. Frank's like in and out because he's literally like in and out of consciousness in this episode.
Right.
The D and Mac alliance is awesome because, weirdly enough, because D has her own delusions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Throughout this series, like it's a running joke about how she's like still wants to be an actress and she's too old, yada yada yada. But she's like not as delusional as Mac, and she's doing her voice of reason thing, but like at Mac's delusions.
Yeah, when she gets up in his face, when he's talking about scaling the apartment walls and like cutting a hole, it's pretty amazing. Like she says, "You absolutely cannot do that," and then he like gets close to her face and says,
I absolutely have the upper body strength to accomplish that.
Then she pushes her nose into his nose and says,
Are you kidding
God
me?
damn it, T! God damn it!
She literally gets in his face.
yeah, nose to nose.
We're gonna talk about some highlights here.
Speaking of that, I mean, the delusion is a good segue.
Yeah. So speaking of delusion, you want to talk about the plan, quote unquote?
Oh, there's always a plan, buddy.
Yeah, I do.
Can you summarize the plan for me?
The plan is, I think it's they're expecting that somewhere in the bottom of the ninth, the Phillies will be up by 50 or 60 runs.
Yeah.
I think I read this somewhere that that wouldn't happen if they were up. There would be no bottom of the ninth. There would just be a top.
Yeah, the game would be over after the top. Yeah.
So anyway,
Who cares?
That at that point, I guess since they've enjoyed the game, they don't need to pay attention anyway. Mac and Dennis will start fighting.
Dennis and I are going to start beating the shit out of each other.
They will draw the attention of the crowd and of security, at which point D will run onto the field and kiss a player.
An addendum to the plan, Charlie is going to put on Green Man,
Well,
and he will run around as Green Man.
yeah, Charlie didn't realize there was a plan. So once he hears the plan, he said, "Well, if you while you guys are doing that, I can do this." Yeah, so he wants to get in on the mascot action, which is the first time I think we see Green Man referred to as a mascot.
I think it was when Green Man was introduced. I think there was a reference to Charlie maybe doing that at like high school sporting events.
Oh, okay.
Which I mean is not directly said as a mascot, but yeah,
that makes sense.
You're correct. But I think this is kind of the purpose of Green Man.
He always thought of it as he was a mascot without a team. So now he wants to have a team, and I think he says that why isn't there enough room for both of us?
I got a pretty good thing going with Green Man. I don't see why there can only be one mascot.
I think D also voice of reasons that and says no. There's pretty much just you'll drop it in the line from that.
Nah, I feel like there's only room for one green idiot running around making an asshole of himself.
Because the Philly fanatic is green.
Yeah, he's a green asshole.
Real quick, one of my favorite lines is it's one of those like maybe improvised kind of like subtly slipped in Always Sunny lines, because when Dee is showing off her like cool baseball jersey and they're doing Whoop There It Is, Charlie starts joining in with the "and I will put on Green Man," and Max says,
No, there it goes.
because no one wants him to do it.
That was subtle and kind of funny. That's the plan, plain and simple. Dee kisses a player, but at some point they start to get into the details of the plan. Which player? Right. And she claims, she says, I want to pick somebody who is known as the Flying Hawaiian.
I'm going Shane Victorino right now.
Flying Hawaiian.
Flying Hawaiian.
Mac agrees that it's a good choice, but he's center field. And he's like, you're going to get all jacked up by security before you even get close.
It's a great point, because baseball fields are fucking massive.
Yeah, it's like a 15-minute walk. But Mac's been thinking about it, and he says it casually, like he's been thinking a little bit about it, like kind of off the cuff. But then he really becomes adamant that she has to kiss Chase Utley.
Right.
Like if it's me, I'm going Chase Utley 100% of the time. He's a power-hitting second baseman, D. You know how rare that is in the National League?
Well, yeah, and he's hot, which is like number one on my list. But I really like Ryan Howard.
Now, you're kissing Chase Utley, and that's it.
And I don't know how he brings it up, but he's like, and while you're doing that, you can give him this letter. She's like, oh, you wrote a letter. Mac goes on to explain how he tried to get it to.
I have given this to Major League Baseball, his lawyer, his manager, his mom, and he has not gotten back to me, which means he hasn't gotten it yet. So just...
Because he would get back to him if he'd read the letter.
Yeah. And then so Dee's like, okay, well, I'm going to read it. And he's like, yeah, totally, read it. You'll see it's normal. It's totally cool and normal. She gets about 1 second into the letter. She opens it up and says,
Dear Chase. Oh, shit, there's stickers.
Yeah.
My God.
One of the best moments of this episode.
Yeah, she's real good. I mean, that is my peak, probably favorite line, but the whole situation of her explaining to him how this is weird, or just being surprised by it.
Yeah, and I think that Mac's reactions to her reading it is also extremely funny.
Yeah.
Because he's just like proud and a little kid. And he's like,
yep.
Did you have a good relationship with your dad? Me neither, shaking his head.
Yeah. He definitely is not ashamed. Like, he doesn't realize how Dee is reading this. He's a little unaware, which makes it seem genuine.
I think my favorite line from the letter is,
I know I can't throw as fast as you, but I think you would be impressed with my speed.
I think, Dee reacts to that positively. And I agree, but do you think he's talking about his throwing speed or his running speed? I like to think of it as the running speed, because that seems like the ultimate little kid thing.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Literally saying,
look
like,
how fast I am.
Yeah, look how fast I can run. Like, I'm going to run to that tree and just like, Mom, look how fast.
And I guess at this point it's worth mentioning that Mac's letter was shown on the big screen during Chase Utley's retirement ceremony.
Right.
And like, I guess earlier he had even written like a response to this. So this is like Philly sports.
Right.
It's in like it's in the world of Philly sports now. This letter.
Would you say it's in the annals of history? Yeah, I guess what Nate is referring to is it seems like Philly, I don't know if they just made it up for this because I didn't research it, but I'm assuming it's a thing they do, but they like respond to fan letters. Right. They have like a little segment. I don't know if it was on their like Instagram or website, but maybe once a week, one of the players like reads something. Or
like in between innings. Because there's so much content that you need for all the downtime.
Sports. Right. Yeah, so whatever. We'll just assume that it's a thing that they regularly do, where they read fan letters and then reply to them. So they had Chase Utley read Mac's letter and reply to it.
Thanks, Mac. Great letter. Here's my letter back to Mac. Dear Mac, I feel like I can call you Mac because you called me Chase. Sorry it took me 5 years to write you back, but I'm really busy playing a lot of baseball for the Phillies. Thank you for the compliment on my hair. It's my fourth favorite thing after baseball, running fast, and my dad. I'm sorry your dad doesn't like you. Maybe you could become a better son. Meeting you and having a game of catch sounds like a lot of fun, but like I said, I'm really busy playing a lot of baseball for the Phillies. I hope you have a good life. Fans like you make my life a grand slam. Your good friend, Chase.
And so we both watched the video of it, but I couldn't tell. I assume they told him what the deal was. But I don't know how much different it would have been if he really thought it was a little kid. And I think that would have been funnier.
You think it would have been better if they had not told him it was from a television show, that it was an actual little kid?
Or just told him that it was a fan and not told him who it was from.
Right.
He would have definitely assumed it was a little kid.
Yeah, I mean, and we get to see Chase in an upcoming episode, but not with Mac. That stings. Along the same delusion lines, also, Mac did eventually get to have a catch with him, except it's like Rob McElhenney. Again, at the retirement ceremony, he got to catch a ball thrown by Chase Utley.
Oh, right.
And just like the video of that, like when they start playing the Always Sunny music and the crowd goes wild, like it's just such a eye-opening thing, because you kind of forget at this point like how popular that show is.
Did you write a love letter to Chase Utley?
I mean, yeah, and how it is such a like a Philly, they have like a lot of outside shots and made by a Philadelphian.
Another thing worth mentioning in this episode is the weird avoidance of saying the Philadelphia Phillies, the Philly Fanatic, and the Holiday Inn.
I didn't notice them not saying Phillies, but I saw them.
Okay, maybe
Phils.
Maybe that's more with like how it's written, because like on Dennis's chest, it's written Phils.
Yeah.
I believe even on the Fanatic or the Frenetic, whatever you want to call him, I think his jersey just said Philly. It wasn't like a Phillies jersey.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that is reasonable. And wow, no love from MLB.
No, nothing like that. They obviously not that they even went inside the stadium at this point, but like maybe that's why. Maybe they tried to do something in the stadium and they couldn't get permission, so they made it a whole thing about being in the parking lot as close as they got.
Right. Also, it seems a lot easier to film.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's very strange. I actually didn't pick up on either of those until like a seventh watch or whatever at some point, until it's like brought up and I forgot about it, because I didn't know the Fanatic was called the Fanatic and not the Frenetic.
Don't toss on Green Man, because in this particular case, the Philly Frenetic really reigns supreme.
Right. I mean, the Frenetic works.
Yeah, it's
to
like,
be honest, like
yeah, a mascot with a crazy energy.
Yeah.
It's like, is he fanatical about the team? Sure. Does he have frenetic energy? Sure. So yeah, so I kind of forgot that. And then Holiday Inn, I thought it was just like a play on their accents.
I thought that's what I thought too.
But once you get to the end and once like it's explicitly discussed about the frenetic fanatic thing, then it makes more sense. And so many people say it.
I think the thing that made me pay attention to it is when the judge says, because she says it in like a slightly different way than like Dennis says it. Like,
are you telling me you all found a dungeon at the bottom of the Holiday Inn?
It's when the fourth person says it, you're like, okay, not everyone has the same accent. No one is that good at a fake Philly accent or like a fake not even Philly accent. So while we don't get explicit confirmation that was done on purpose for legal reasons, we do hear Charlie at the end of the episode, as he's being sort of escorted out of the courtroom, discuss the Fanatic and how Major League Baseball was going to sue him for saying Fanatic.
All right, first of all, I had to call him the Frenetic. His name's the Fanatic, but, I'm going to get sued by Major League Baseball if I call him the Fanatic.
So I think this is the only instance in the show that could be considered breaking the fourth wall.
Right.
Charlie is, yes, he's talking to the judge, but he's really talking to the audience.
Yeah. I mean, he's explaining why they've been saying frenetic, because he's, I forget what he says. He has a countersuit. Once the judge throws out their case, he has a countersuit against the Philly Frenetic. And yeah, it's a clever way of putting it in there that he's saying they would sue me for saying it, but there's no reason why in real life someone would sue you for saying a word. It's only if it's on TV. The only way it works is
him as a television character.
Yeah, or a writer, or yes, exactly.
Right.
So it's interesting the way he's like, he doesn't actually break it, but he does. It's like an implied break of the fourth wall.
Right. Exactly.
But as you said, it's really the only time that either of us can think of that they do this. I like the fact that as he's being escorted out, the very tail end of it, he says, "Can we talk about steroids?"
And let's talk about steroids. Can we talk about steroids? Can we talk about steroid abuse? It's bullshit.
I mean, it's ruining baseball.
I have no clue whether it is or isn't. I would assume it would be because that's, it seems like that's what would ruin most sports. But I just like the fact that it goes very into, like, that's where his Carol from HR bit, like that character comes in.
And I knock on her door and I say, Carol, I gotta talk to you about Pepe. And when I open the door, what do I find? There's not a single goddamn desk in that office.
You see a little bit of it when he gets into like his lawyer voice. His like high, scratchy lawyer voice, and you can see where it's coming from. But when he says, "Can we talk about steroids?" That really sounds like him talking. Can we talk about the mail? I'm dying to talk about the mail.
Yeah, he's speaking very frenetically.
Ooh, nice. I like what you've done there.
Yeah, I think steroids were like a big thing in baseball in like the late 90s with like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Home run record, breaking the home run record. Like both of those guys were obviously on steroids. So then it's like, do you still count this as a record?
Right. Do you strip them?
Do you put an asterisk next to it? Do you not allow it?
I think if they were confirmed or something and it was like against the rule, I would just strike them from the record.
Yeah.
That's
I actually don't know. I don't know what the final rule on that is, but it's unfortunate.
Speaking of steroids, have you seen a movie called Titan?
Titan? No.
Not Titanic. Not Titan. It's a French.
Titan.
It's a French movie in the genre of body horror, which I didn't know existed. Anyway.
Not a fan, personally.
You're aware. You're familiar with the genre.
My wife is a horror fan.
Oh, sick. Would Aliens be kind of considered body horror?
Oh, yeah. That's a great example of it, though, because it's got a lot more suspense and just like a little bit of the gross shit.
Anyway, yeah, so it was whatever. But there was a I don't know if it was just like testosterone or steroids, but there was a guy stabbing a needle into his butt. Anyway, I saw that like 24 hours ago. So.
Something else to quickly discuss is in the Charlie 1-2 Green Man frenetic plot line, we see a couple of recurring characters.
Oh yeah, the hate crime guys.
Let's call them as their credited fan number 1 and fan number 2.
Did you have, by any chance, go back and see what they're credited as? In the first?
I didn't. Shit. I'm gonna guess that it was man number 1, man number 2.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
That's just my guess, but I don't know. Dennis Hogan and Dennis Hart. It's a great, very quick thing about Charlie's fighting the frenetic as Green Man, and they say,
That guy's beating on the frenetic. Dude, is that a hate crime? Nah, it's not a hate crime. You want to hammer his ass anyway? Definitely.
Then they gang up on Charlie and beat the shit out of him with a very nice touch at the end by the frenetic kicking him on the ground.
Yeah, the frenetic awkwardly gets up in his costume and then joins in. I thought that was a really nice homage to their earlier appearance.
I did too.
Dude, is that a hate crime? Shit, yeah, it's a hate crime.
I wonder what they were doing. Like, I'm assuming those are like just Philly dudes, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they like actors, full-time actors? Are they like are they friends of friends?
Just from like my outsider's perspective, they don't seem like actors to me.
Right.
But they're very good at it. They're just like two big sports fan looking guys.
Yeah. They might be construction workers in the first episode.
Right.
Their first appearance. Or just like, blue-collar, manual labor kind of guys.
Right.
Yeah, that first appearance is great because they're like, bro, is that a hate crime? It's just so good. It's very bro-y. I think they come to the conclusion that Green Man attacking the fanatic is not a hate crime.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because you just want to beat somebody up.
Yeah.
Going outside of these like big highlights, do you have like one or two favorite lines from this episode?
I think we discussed my two, which is both from D. both from the same era. One is "Are you kidding me?" When she knows Mac can't scale a wall, and then oh shit, there's stickers. But no, I can't think of anything new.
I have a couple more.
Which
there's a great back and forth between Dennis and Mac when Mac's delusion continues, like after the scaling the apartment wall to.
Oh, you mean when he has no other choice but to scale the wall of the stadium?
You put me on the spot. First thing that comes to my head, scaling the facade.
Exactly. And Dennis brings up the same point as D, where he's like, you don't have the core strength for that. And then Mac says, yes, I do. Dennis says, you just work out your glam muscles.
Yeah.
And then there's like an improv-y sounding line where...
I work out my core.
No, you do not work out your core. You're totally arm heavy. You're all bis and tris, and everything else is just fat and ribs.
Yeah.
Before breaking into the push-up contest, which is both a flashback and in the present time.
Right. Yep. That is a great exchange on many levels. I think it really works because it's funny. Earlier in the episode, when he's talking about the apartment, Max specifically says, I absolutely have the upper body strength to do it. And then when Dennis brings it up, he's like, see, you don't have the core to do it. And honestly, to be honest, I don't know which one you would need. I would assume it was upper body, but it's funny that Dennis brings that up and then accuses him of only working out his arms. So
it's glamour muscles, yeah.
Yeah, it sort of reinforces. I mean, just the term glamour muscles is awesome, but the concept, this discussion reinforces the fact that like Mac assumes he could do X, Y, Z because of the few muscles that he focuses on and cares about. Also, they both look really good at doing push-ups.
Yeah, their form is great.
I don't think I could do that.
Speaking of their form, when they're heading to the Holiday Inn and Charlie's all like beaten and bloody and Green Man and he's like drinking this blue riot punch.
Right.
And they're talking about the push-up still. He quickly asks Dennis,
disqualify me again for bullshit reason. I'll hammer you again.
Was your form off?
And it's just like a line that I didn't catch until like the last time I watched it.
Yeah, it's
because he's like also kind of like judging them in the courtroom where he's like, strike that from the record. I didn't see three more than.
Yeah.
He's like invested in it. It's just really cute.
Yeah. He's objective,
Objective, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great bit with they don't really, I mean, I don't either understand the court reporter, like how that works.
Oh, I think it's the stenographer.
The stenographer, right. When Mac is or they're discussing like
shorthand, she's getting the gist.
And Mac says,
I don't appreciate being paraphrased. Now, I choose my words very deliberately.
It's not so much what he says. I think it's his attitude and delivery that really works on that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it works, but yeah, that's their deal. I think there is like a specific shorthand that you have to like learn for that job.
There's not very many buttons on that thing.
Yeah, I am confused by it.
I do not understand how it works.
I guess now
I know you have to like go to school for it.
Yeah, now that I'm like actually thinking about it, I'm like, wait, I don't know. Like I know that they do something. I just don't know how they're doing it.
I have written here, how does it work?
That is a great question. Join us next week when we discuss and
go to
dive
school.
into
We're taking an online course.
Oh, an online. Do you think you have to buy the machine? I mean, could you even learn without
You have, surely.
It's not a full keyboard.
It's certainly machine specific.
It looks like a calculator.
There's another subtle, funny bit that starts in the beginning of the episode where Charlie's in like full lawyer mode and he's handing Dennis the papers for, I guess that's like their version of the story, maybe.
Yeah, like an outline.
Dennis is like, at first Dennis is just like shoving them away. And then towards the end of the episode, he keeps trying the same thing when they cut back to the courtroom and Dennis says,
stop handing me papers.
It's pretty good.
But just stop handing me papers is
like,
funny because it's a very like courtroom television show where it's just like lawyers are just shuffling papers and like handing stuff back and forth.
Right.
And Charlie's seen that on TV, so that's like what he's doing too.
Right. And I guess the implication could be that there's not even relevant information written on the paper or anything legible.
Probably not.
To Dennis, they could literally just be papers, like random papers.
Yeah.
Well,
they got to look professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what a kangaroo court is?
No, that's a great question. I just assume that it's... Wait a second. Is it from Australia?
I
think it is.
The term kangaroo court is often erroneously believed to have its origin from the courts of Australia's penal colonies. Oxford English Dictionary cites the first published instance of the term as from an American source, A Stray Yankee in Texas by Philip Paxton, published in 1853. Basically, it's a court that has like no official standing, and it's like thrown together, ignores like standards and precedents of law.
Right. But why kangaroo?
It may have come about as a description of the hastily carried out proceedings used to deal with the issue of claim jumping minors. Ostensibly, the term comes from the notion of justice proceeding by leaps like a kangaroo. In other words, jumping over evidence that would be in favor of the defendant.
That seems like a stretch.
An alternative theory is that as these courts are often convened quickly to deal with an immediate issue, they are called kangaroo courts as they have jumped up out of nowhere like a kangaroo. Another possibility is that the phrase could refer to the pouch of a kangaroo, meaning the cord is in someone's pocket. Jesus Christ. I don't know, man.
Well, I didn't want to do this.
I'm calling kangaroo court on this court.
Kangaroo court. It's a kangaroo court.
I'm calling kangaroo court because...
I think it sounded cool, and someone used it.
Funny you mentioned that. The next one says that the term arose because a place named Kangaroo sounded comical to its hearers, just as place names like Kalamazoo and Booger Hole strike us as comical.
That seems the most reasonable thus far. That's the most...
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Oh, interesting. The term is sometimes used without any negative connotation. For example, many Major League Baseball teams have a kangaroo court to punish players for errors and other mistakes on the field, as well as for being late for a game or practice, not wearing proper attire, or having a messy locker in the clubhouse.
What are the chances that they did this on purpose? Major League Baseball,
I'd say it's pretty high.
kangaroo court ties in.
These are college-educated screenwriters, you know?
And Major League Baseball fans.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't read that until now. I had the page dialed up, but I think our official stance is that it's called kangaroo courts because it sounds funny.
Yeah.
And they used it because of the Major League Baseball relation.
That one I think is a stretch, but I'll go with it. I do like attributing happenstance to their genius, so I'm into it.
Yeah, I've noticed that, yeah.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
How bad do you think fumigation is?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was exaggerated in this episode, but I'm not basing that on any personal anecdotal experience.
Right. Okay, so here's the other question. So yeah, I have no clue if I could like walk into a bug bomb, and just be like, yeah, it sucks, but, or if it would be like, oh no, you die instantly. Like it's supposed to kill all the bugs and you have like bigger lungs, so you breathe in a lot more of it, whatever.
Right.
But also, I would assume that like if something is tented for like a day or two, I'm guessing that you spray all the fucking chemicals, the fumes, the toxic gas, but then I would assume it settles. It's not 24 hours of pumping gas. I assume you spray it and then it settles, and you want to give it 24 hours for it to like dissipate.
Right. And it doesn't look like a fog machine a day later.
Yeah, so I guess it's possible that they opened the tent within the like 20-minute spray period, but I don't know. I'm thinking if it, your chances are pretty good if there's a tent up and you want to like go in. Although now that I say it, they probably left that morning and there wasn't a tent, so it's only been a few hours.
We're talking hours. Yeah, hours.
So and it probably takes a very long time to put one of those tents up. So now
we could be talking minutes.
Now that I say it out loud, like that does seem reasonable that the gas would be piping at that time. It would be like pumping at that. Huh. I just disproved my own theory. Thanks for coming on that journey with me.
As I said with the last episode, I didn't love the ending, and by the ending, I'm referring to the like dead bodies in the tunnel of Philly baseball fans.
That was weird.
But I think the way I interpreted it was that maybe they like just didn't know how to end it, so they wanted to do something that was like provocative.
Provocative.
No, it's not. It's
Gets the people going.
So hard, motherfuckers want to find me.
And then they refer to what they did in the show by Dennis being like, oh, it looks like we were losing you, so we thought we'd spice it up a little bit.
Hold on. Are you saying that there's another fourth wall break?
Well, this one doesn't seem as obvious as the other one, but I think it's possible.
Interesting.
You can't make that look exciting by them being locked in a linen closet for 6 days or whatever, or missing the game and all that. Like, that's the opposite of a climax.
Right. Yeah. It's also interesting. Does this harken back to the Liberty Bell episode?
Same thing. They're losing their audience at the end.
Flashback, because don't they do the same thing with when Dee's on like a broomstick and the headless
Dee flies
horseman,
away.
the headless
Right.
horseman, and yeah. But in that situation, I don't know if they were saying that's actually what happened, or if they do the same thing where they're like, okay, well that didn't really happen, but
I think it's safe to assume that Dee, back in historical times,
did not
fly away on a witch's broom. But
okay, so then yeah,
let's say it's the same thing.
That's my assumption. Is that, and it really does. It's they're both flashbacks, and they both are presented to a figure of authority, and they're sort of losing her, and they do something exciting at the end to like tie it all together. Very similar vibe.
Will Noon,
Yes.
what's your grade for this episode? The World Series defense.
Oh, I think you're going to be shocked on this one. I'm going to give it a B.
Oh shit!
I told you.
Oh my god!
When I was rewatching it, because we took a week off, so I actually did a lot of the watching a week and a half ago, and maybe it's because my depression is growing like rapidly at an accelerated pace. But this morning, like especially the intro, I was pretty just not impressed.
The opening courtroom scene.
Yeah, they just like walk in and they're like, "Well, we're here to tell you that blah 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 due to circumstances."
Yeah.
And she's like, "And what circumstance was this?" And they're like, "It was the Philadelphia Phillies winning the World Series." And I was like, "Okay." I don't know. Maybe that's just my today's reaction because I'm like in a cranky mood, but I'm going to give it a B.
Well, I don't think it's that weird. I was going to give it an A-, which is this the first episode that I've rated higher than you? But I think there's, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Like the opening is just exposition. Like it's funny, but it's just exposition, and like there's no title screen joke, and the ending is a little weird. But I love Max Delusion. It's just like nonstop entertainment for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that part is great. Love the riot punch. I'm assuming when they say grain alcohol, they're talking about Everclear, which is like 95% alcohol. So
yeah, I just assume grain alcohol is like 100%. It's just straight up alcohol.
Probably great for bug bites. But I mean, this episode's like, I don't know. I'm with you. It's good, but it's not great. And with that is the end of our episode. If you want to follow us on Instagram @always_Stockholm. If you want to follow us on Twitter @alwaysstockholm.
Please like and subscribe.
All right. See you later.
Something like this. Tag team back again. Check it, direct it, let's begin. Party on, party people. Let me hear some noise. DC's in the house, jump, rejoices. There's a party over here. A party over there. Wave your hands in the air, shake the dairy, yeah. These 3 words mean you're getting busy. Whoop, there it is, hit me.
Brought to you by the Nutty and New Network.